Hi there, it's Lori, and I'm here with a math lesson and a classroom story. This was an actual conversation that happened in class. Boy was trying to get girl's number. I said to the boy, "Are you seriously flirting with her right now?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Get back to doing math. Math is cool." Because, yeah, I'm funny that way. Boy next to him then says, "It doesn't matter. He doesn't get either of them." So, yeah. Anyway, poor kid had no game. All right. So, there's that story. The math lesson we're going to do today is I'm going to figure out how much yardage I have left of this blanket yarn. And Jill from Floozy had asked me to kind of take it more step by step and like just focus on one part of it. So, what we're going to show today is how you can calculate by weighing it. And yes, I have this giant scale, and by giant, I mean tiny. I'll probably use this tray and tare it. So, it's not, but this is much more accurate than what I had. I am going to work on getting like a real scale because, yeah, this is tiny. That's what she said. Sorry, I had to say it. Anyway, so I'm going to show the math of if you weigh your yarn and you know the yardage that it had and the weight it had originally, then you can get a decent yardage estimate. All right, so I'm going to turn this on. We're going to press this. We're going to do this, and we're going to press T. That means that weight is no longer counting. We're going to drop that in. This is ounces. It is 0.116. Oh, that is way off screen. Sorry. 0.116 ounces. Okay. So we're going to set up this proportion. Now I know 10.5 ounces is 220 yards. And we know that that's approximate, but again, this is much more accurate. 0.11, oh, you can't see it. 0.116, I don't know if that's backwards on the screen. I guess we'll find out. All right, so here's what we want to know. We're going to put our question mark. Question mark yards. How many yards is this? Because I'd like to know, is there enough to make one baby hat, two baby hats? I want to know. Oh, and I'm going to turn off my scale to not waste the batteries because it's not a rechargeable, which also a mistake on my part. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go across here. So notice that the ounces are lined up with each other and the yards are lined up with each other. And what we're going to do is do yards, this question mark yards. So 10.5, and I'm using question mark instead of X just because I think that's more relatable. So we have 10.5 times question mark. I'm going to use an asterisk for that. Equals, and we're going to go the other way, 220 times 0.116. And I know I'm super slanty. I almost want to turn my camera to match my slant. I can't quite. Let's see. Okay, that's a little better. It's all right. By the way, this writing, if your writing tends to go up as you write, supposedly that's a sign that you're optimistic, which I am optimistic. So I guess, at least for me, that's true. But if you tend to slant upward, yeah, for whatever that's worth, who knows? So let's talk about this again. So we put what it weighed. Oh, it's a little too far back that way. what it weighed, and then the beginning weight. And then we put that over. Here, let me actually grab not the paint pen, that would be a problem. Where's my blue pen? There it is. I'm going to put my little divisor line there in blue. Okay, and again, notice the ounces are lined up. And then we don't know how many yards we have, so that's our unknown. And then that 10.5 ounces equals 220 yards. So I can put that in a ratio like that. And then we're going to work this out. Well, we're going to go ahead and get this answer instead of me skipping steps, because that's what Jill specifically said. Don't skip steps and only focus on one thing. So all we're focused on is, I got this much yarn. I want to know how many yards that is. All right. So I'm going to get this answer in my calculator. All right, calculator, there you are. 0.116 times 220 equals 25.52. Now that would be technically ounces, yards, if I wanted a label, and this is technically ounces, yards too. But when I divide this 10.5 out, notice that's ounces. So technically, I'm dividing by 10.5 ounces, and then I'll cancel out those ounces. That labeling matters if you're doing a lot of variables and you're not keeping track of what it is that you're trying to find, but that's just the details of it. What we care about is the math. So we have this. Sadly, it wasn't just 10 ounces, because that would be easy math. We're going to hit divided by 10.5. And I got, this can't be right. Was that pounds? Because let me write down what answer I got. Question mark equals 2.43 yards. Does this look like 2.5 yards to you? No, no way. So we're going to go back. I'm going to just wait. This is why it's important to understand some math and be able to look at an answer and go, that answer doesn't make sense. So my guess is this isn't ounces. So I'm going to be checking that right now. All right, let's go back to this. Take my yarn off. Take that off. It says hello. And then it says pounds. Haha, that's my problem. See? So getting an answer that doesn't make sense means there was a problem in what we did. And I wanted you to see also, as much as I understand math, if I don't watch my details, I make mistakes too. Well, I make mistakes in regular math too. All right, so let's change our M, our measure. We want ounces. I don't know why it's showing 0.1. Let's put that on there. And then we're going to hit tear. Now let's weigh it. Gotta make sure it's all on there. 1.846. All right, we're going to get a very different answer this time. I'm going to write this up here. And it just went up to 1.847. All right. Okay. So we're going to redo this with the new weight measurement up there. I'm going to try not to be as slanty. And I'm actually going to flip it over. I'm going to flip the equation over. I think it actually shows it better if I do it that way. So the key is just your yards have to be in the same place and your ounces have to be in the same place. So this time I'm going to put yards on top. I'm going to put that we know we have 220 yards per 10.5 ounces equals question mark yards over 1.847 ounces. Does anybody know why it's abbreviated OZ for ounces? I don't know. Just curious. All right. So this time, it's slightly easier to see what's going on here. So we're going to take this one step at a time. If I put the yards on top, this does make this easier. Notice yards, yards, ounces, ounces. We're going to actually do this division first. So I'm going to do 220. And yeah, I will leave all of this in, the mistake and all, because I think it's important to see that. 10.5. This is how I talk too. All right. So when I do this division, I get 20.95. How many do I want to go out? Let's go there. Is this super precise? No, not particularly. Question mark yards. And like I said, I'm using question mark instead of X just kind of to make a point. I think our brains will interpret that a little bit better. And so I think that's better. Remember, this is yards, ounces, yards over ounces. I'm not even going to show the units this time other than right there. Okay, so this means the yards divided by the ounces. So to undo that, we need to multiply. So even though I'm technically doing the same math, I'm just breaking it down a little bit differently. My phone is kind of on there. And I'm going to put asterisk for times because then we can see it. All right, let's go ahead and do this multiplication. So this is a much nicer number. This makes a lot more sense because fat yarn, it's not as much yardage. So my final answer, and I'm going to round, it was 699. So we're going to call it 38.7 yards-ish, right? And I want to change that to approximately. That's really, again, that's a detail if you're doing a legitimate like math thing where you have to figure it out. So this seems much more accurate. This is about 38 and a half-ish yards. So now I would be able to know, is this enough, depending on my pattern, is this enough for a baby hat? I think it actually is. I suspected it was, but I don't think it's enough for two. I think it's enough for one, maybe toddler hat. Maybe I can figure out how to, make a buttered popcorn hat for my granddaughter, because that would be awesome, right? Buttered popcorn. Why did they not name it buttered popcorn? All right, y'all. So just remember, some people don't have game and they don't get math either. But just kidding. I think anybody can understand math. We just need to make sure we understand and break it down so it makes sense. Hopefully this lesson made sense. I think this method that I set up second was better by putting the unknown in the top. It made the math a little more straightforward, at least in my mind. And I have about 38.7 yards. So thanks for stopping in, and sorry about my phone's contribution. But y'all are the best, and I will see you later.